Sometimes we give thanks to forces larger than us and creatures smaller than us. Sometimes we give thanks in tongues we did not know we speak. Sometimes we like to remind ourselves of what we want to remember, and we build sets of visual cues and scenes to remind ourselves of what we want to and ought to remember. There's one such place like that in Jogjakarta, and we thought, yalla, we gotta go see this somehow. Grace Samboh agreed to take us to see a place just like that, where what we see is skewed by what and how we remember and want to remember. Scales are toppled, distorted. Clouds rumble and tumble. Let's get Grace on the line.
This happened in 1948, the year Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. On December 19, the Dutch army was shooting at Maguwo Airport, Jogja, Indonesia. 2 years after, Indonesia proclaimed its independence. These are the backs of Indonesian independence fighter here. If I duck a bit, can we sort of imagine their view? Their bodily experience? The mountain in the end of your view is Merapi. It's one of the most active volcanoes in the Pacific Ocean's Ring of Fire. Look at that little LED lights, sort of indicating danger. I wonder which are more dangerous actually. The Dutch shooting at an airport or the volcano suddenly deciding to erupt? Wouldn't it be nice if the volcano suddenly decided to erupt when the Dutch planes passed around them? Dioramas, as the word diorama can either refer to a 19th century mobile theater device or in modern usage, a three-dimensional full-size or miniature model, sometimes enclosed in a glass showcase for a museum. Dioramas are often built by hobbyists as part of related hobbies such as military vehicle, miniature figure modeling, or aircraft modeling. I am told that when I walk, you will hear me breaking, so I'm gonna keep quiet. This is still 1948, the year popcorn was sold on mass scale for the first time, and the year when the Czech Communist Party coup succeeded with Soviet backing. This is still December 19, 1948, in Jogja. The guy on your right side is Sukarno. He was our first president, a charismatic guy of that generation, as was many leaders in his time, such as Jawaharlal Nehru, UNU, Norodom Sihanouk, Kwame Nkrumah, Ho Chi Minh, Mao Zedong, etc. This guy on the left, facing him, is General Sudirman. He is convinced that war is arriving to Jogja. Therefore, he needed to start a guerrilla. At some point, see this room again where they are meeting. The room, lights on, we will see that room afterwards. The word diorama was created by French theater set painter Louis Daguerre in 1812 when he worked with Charles Bouton in making a viha in which audience would enter a dark cube to see landscape paintings on rather see-through textiles with particular lighting sets, so that one can experience daytime and nighttime. Additional objects are added into the ride to generate more dramatic optical illusions in order to manipulate. After several years, snatched by Japan, renamed into Jakarta, declared as the capital of a new country, Indonesia, in 1940. Indonesia's revolutionary government decided to move the capital city to Jogja due to its better landscape for protection. It was January 46, less than half a year from independence proclamation, that the capital was moved. By the end of 48, the Dutch finally attacked, while some parts of the world, especially London, was euphoric after the 48 Summer Olympics. President Sukarno, Vice President Muhammad Hatta, and other leaders of Indonesia that you see in this diorama had to hide in Sumatra's deep forests because of Dutch military aggression had reached Jogja. A lead painter who later on worked for Indonesia's presidential collection was invited to have tea with Juliana Louis Emma Marie Wilhelmina, Juliana of the Netherlands. The queen from 48 to, she was queen from 48 to 80. It is said that later in that year, the painter became sad, even felt sick due to this military aggression that we are seeing through the dioramas. Why would the queen have tea with the painter? Why would the painter want to have tea with the queen? I hope you can see on your screens that, or somewhat every time I walk from one diorama to another, and I hope you can also sense that other parts of this place is dark. This is the day after the leaders of the country went to refuge. And less than a week from when the Dutch attacked the airports. The caption says, people and military, they fought together. The country is not even 2 years old. This scene is in mid-1984, an open call was made on behalf of the state. Jogja provincial government held some sort of a competition for artists, producers to design and fill this museum, like literally to architecturally design it and plan it for its contents, such as dioramas, reliefs, and whatnots. In the open announcement, there were two keynote functions museum and monument may well be. They were Ruslan Abdul Ghani, the mastermind diplomat who wrote a book on how the Asia-Africa Conference in Bandung 55 was organized from the Indonesian civil servant perspective. Sudarisman Purwokusumo, a local Jogja resident who once seated in the provincial parliament and co-founded one of the biggest public university in the country, Gadjah Mada University. I am making another turn. I hope you see it. We are still looking at 1948, the year the World Health Organization was founded, the year Ozzy Osbourne was born, and the year US government conducted massive missile tests in such a shabby shack. Is actually only a week after the first diorama, after the attack. It had to be a shack, no? A modest way to display collective struggle and middle-ranking militaries and the people would still fight for the country. Yeah, they are middle-ranking, we can say that, because the executives have fled out the town just a couple of years ago.
Tanggal 19 Desember 1948, Komandan Brigade Letnan Kolonel Soekarno telah memindahkan markas komandonya di negara Yogyakarta. Letnan Kolonel Komandan Letnan Soekarno.
These are maps of the Jogja and its surrounding. It's made out of copper. And the empty parts there that you can see are where LEDs are supposed to be installed. Finally, there's people in the museum. It means that the rain has stopped. These copper maps and the little cute LED lights, along with all this building, it was made in '84. Quite the time when people just started using Walkman, I guess. In mid-1984, an open call was made. Oh, there were 94 participants that attended the open call briefing. Can you imagine 94? That's quite a lot. Half of them are pretty well-known names within the arts and culture side from all over Java. Of course, mainly Jakarta, Bandung, Jogja, and Bali. Very few of them are design companies. The artists, who in the end was responsible in making all these dioramas, the reliefs, the maps, and several other accessories of the museum monument or museum contents in their wordings, was not present in the open call briefing. However, in the attendance list of that briefing, his eldest son was there, Rosa Arusagara. This is an overly glorified event in the military history of Indonesia, or should I say history of Indonesia, since it's written by a historian who is a military general anyway. I'm not here to talk about the history with a capital H. I don't have the capacity nor interest, but I want to show you the beautiful dioramas. Look at these ornaments, such as graffiti, The concrete gate changing from like a three-dimensional object into painting.
Letnan Kolonel Soeharto, Komandan Werkrijs 3.
Since the leader of the country had flown out for refuge, the people and the army, as the caption says, is fighting together.
Untuk meyakinkan dunia bahwa tentara
Let's try again.
Indonesia dan rakyat
If we duck a bit.
berjuang melawan Belanda.
With life-size dioramas, which usually appears in like natural science. Does this really allow us to imagine what it's like?
Baik Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono ke-9 maupun Letnan Kolonel Soeharto.
In French, the word diorama is used for picture viewing device. It is described as through that which is seen. As through that which is seen. Beautiful, no? It is rooted in Greek horama, which means that which is seen, aside. The use of the prefix D means more than one, through, across, beyond. Through that which is seen. Through that which is seen. At some point, the world got involved. The UN requested the Dutch to cease fire. The US threatened to withhold post-war financial aid. The head of Indonesian Republican delegation, Muhammad Rum, on the right side, the front table, and the Dutch delegation leader Jan Herman van Rooyen sat together and talked at Des Indes Hotel, Jakarta. Their deal was later on known as the Rome-Rooyen Agreement that led to the conference in Den Haag. Anyway, I've always really liked the meetings dioramas, as they recorded some sort of actualities of life at the time. I guess restaurators and conservators later on may have had to adjust with lifestyle changes. But at least you see what remains. This is my favorite part. There are ashtrays amongst two persons. You can also see the right hand of that guy, his fingers. You can't see cigarette between the finger now, but you can imagine that there should have been more. A little note to make. The artist in charge of making all these dioramas, who didn't show up in the open call announcement, lives about 2 kilometers from here. He who sent his eldest son to attend the open call announcement towards the making of these dioramas. Finally, the Dutch army were retracted from Jogja. Do you remember what I said about the Wikipedia explanation of dioramas? Often part of related hobbies such as military vehicle modeling, miniature figure modeling, or aircraft modeling. All these war settings that we have been through and dramatization. Don't you wonder who needed to monumentalize this? With this scale of realization, it had to be someone or some group with particular kind of power. Therefore, money. Okay, here we are. This is the diorama that I really wanted to show. The rest were, I don't know, maybe prelude towards this one. In the official Bahasa Indonesia dictionary, diorama is described as the presentation of landscapes or scenery in a small scale using sculpture and environmental details that mimics the reality, as well as backgrounds that are close to the natural conditions, or a scene or scenery that is generated by placing objects and characters in front of a perspectively calculated background that depicts the events in its actuality. Can we see your screen, Michelle?
I pulled up the picture. Can you see it?
Yeah. Cool. The painting that is there in the diorama is a portrait of the First Lady Fatmawati by the painter Basuki Abdullah, who is best known for his portraits with a technique that he called beautification. He was the one who had tea with Juliana of the Netherlands in the year when the saga happened. After the capital city moved back to Jakarta, he became the palace painter for Sukarno, during which he started a database of the president's artwork collections. Can we look at the next slide? Yeah. The Fatmawati painting is known to had to be taken almost everywhere Sukarno goes, hence being put on a corner table rather than being hanged on the wall. Of course, what you see in the diorama is not the actual painting. As you can see in the second image where Fatmawati herself is present in front of the painting is rather big. The one in the diorama is scaled down to fit the perspectival logic of the diorama dome. But can you imagine the state commissioning an artist to do a fake painting? I mean, I guess they wouldn't see it that way. But alas, there is a very serious attempt in replicating Basuki Abdullah's Fatmawati painting, even up to his beautification technique, which is basically a shiny effect in your Instagram nowadays. But imagine doing it with brush and oil anyway. President Sukarno was an ardent collector. Now his collection is called the Presidential Collection. Thanks to Basuki Abdullah, who started the database, we at least have records of stuff. Let's go to the next slide, Michelle. This is the Diponegoro room, where the president held his official yet rather intimate meetings. This room is in Gedung Agung complex. It literally means great building, about 6 kilometers from here, where this diorama is at. Gedung Agung was used as presidential palace during 46 to 49, when the capital city was moved to Jogja due to Dutch effort of reclaiming Indies after Japan had lost from the USA. Let's look at the ocean or wave painting in the next slide. I just wanted you to approve my eyes. They are a match, right? The artist is Wilhelmus Jan Friedrich Imann, a Dutch teacher who first came to Sumatra to teach in early 1900. If we look closer at the next slide, look at the painting in the diorama. They are not the same, right? Aren't dioramas supposed to be depicting events in its actuality? The waves may look rather similar, but the sky in the painting inside the diorama is a Basuki Abdullah styled sky. Morning towards noon kind of feel. You can even see them in the replicated Fatmawati painting next to it. Meanwhile, Iman Sky, the painting by the Dutch painter in the presidential collection, is more of an afternoon slightly before golden hour kind of sky. Why would the diorama makers, with such impressive skills, not care about these details? Did they not know? It's rather impossible because Sukarno's collection is documented in a book and the book was perfectly well distributed among artists. Don't all details matter? So can we think of this as intentional? The next slide is a photo from a book that sort of documents Sukarno's achievements. This is the scene that is depicted in this diorama. The caption in the book says, "Discussion after Sudirman's return to Jogja in July 10, 1949. Seated from left to right is TB Simatupang, Sudirman, President Sukarno, and Vice President Muhammad Hatta. Standing left to right is Suparjo Rustam and Colonel Marsudi." Let's look at this like we are playing Where's Wally? Or what's the difference? I've pointed out the painting. Can you see what else? It's the guy on the left. He's not in the photo nor the caption. Let's look at the sketch for the diorama in the next slide. It's rather easy to add someone in a sketch or drawing or painting or even diorama. It's definitely intentional, no? I mean, you even see it in the diorama sketch. Who added this guy? It can't be the artists who are making the dioramas. I mean, the dioramas is located in a building that belongs to the province, to the state. The artists are anyway commissioned by them. So what can we think of the painting? I have to say that I have seen Sukarno's collection book in complete edition in the offices where Edi Sunarso, the artist in charge of the diorama making, his studio is actually not far from here. It's 2 kilometers away from here.
Ulang tahun keempat proklamasi kemerdekaan 17 Agustus 1945 diperingati.
Maybe it's time to check what can we see in the place in which the dioramas are being made.
Oh, makasih Pak.
Uy. It's raining. Yeah. So we're out and it's raining and I have to go down these stairs. Michelle, can you let me know how am I doing with time?
Sure. We have around, how much more time? Half an hour? We're
All right,
good.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh. There's so many rides that you can take if it's not raining. They're not open in daytime though. As you can imagine, with plagues that looks like that all over the world, I guess. It's the so-called heroes that died during the Dutch aggression between 46 to 49. And I was supposed to take a scooter ride, but the rain seems to make it impossible, so I'm gonna take a cab instead.
Yeah, we don't want you falling or
No,
no.
now it's not the best time to fall. But I'm walking straight here so I can show you the building that we just walked out from. There you go. It's called, we call it Monjali. On my way, I will tell you more about the building. It was designed by a group called Desenta, which is Bandung based. They won the competition, but apparently only for the architecture, not for the contents, so-called. The contents had to be taken care by someone who didn't even attend the open call, who had the experience of making at least 3 different museums dioramas beforehand. These colorful words, which means Mary actually, are actually lanterns. So the museum at nighttime, it changed into like a lantern park. Completely different kind of audience hangs out here at night. All the colorful decorations that you see, imagine them lighting in dark.
Oh, it's still raining.
It's still raining, yeah. I'm glad I decided to order a cab. I was sort of speculating, okay, let's do the bike ride. Would be fun. But no. They sell tickets with a different price at nighttime to enter this area. So in daytime, it's 10,000 rupiah per person, which means like 80 cents in USD. In nighttime, it's 150%. So it's 15,000 at night to see the lanterns. They're more expensive than the dioramas, apparently. But you can see war equipment surrounding the lanterns.
Oh, and you can just walk around it like that. Great.
Yes. So if you check the hashtag on like social media, Monjali hashtag, you see 2 oppositional images, like of people having fun surrounding the lanterns, and of like people trying to do selfies in front of the dioramas, which is a bit impossible. Because the lightings are made only for the stuff in the dome. Tap is here. Wow. Apparently, we're even opening our own door.
Oh.
All right.
All right, off we go.
We can.
Do you want me to pull out the rest of the images?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Can you see it from out here?
Yeah,
a little
we
bit.
can see the road. And I just pulled out the museum's image, this cone-like.
Oh, I'm precisely there, across it. I don't know what traffic will be like, but it's technically less than 2 kilometers away. And apparently my phone does not want to focus on the outside.
Traffic.
Yeah, traffic, yep. Well,
Oh.
weekend and rain, so I will show you the road while we're on the way.
Just make sure it doesn't fall.
No. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that cone-shaped building is called Monjali, Monumen Jogja Kembali, colloquially Monjali. It's dedicated for the National Revolution of Indonesia. We are somewhat fascinated with abbreviations. I can't seem to find a way to explain that. I also cannot decide whether it is because of our militaristic tendencies or because we simply just like the foreignness of these colloquials. Like it's distant from what things may actually be, since it's at once a new word. The building shape. I'm gonna.
Yeah,
Maybe I
don't
just
drop your
flip from
phone.
it. No, I'm not gonna try again. Sorry. This is the best I can do for you guys on the way. The building shape is fascinating, right? There really is a certain fascination with land, environment, life, to a certain extent that you can say redundant, but maybe also cute, kind of crazy, kind of cute. The next slide is Gunungan, Javanese for mountain. It's a character in many forms of wayang or shadow puppet performances in Java and Bali. Or in the next slide, you can see tumpeng. It's a rice dish that symbolizes gratitude, that is served in celebration of various important events, ritualistic events. The shape indicates our geography, that are fertile with numerous mountains and volcanoes. The cone-shaped rice mimic the holy mountain. The feast served as a thanksgiving for abundance of harvest or any other blessings. Let's see the actual mountain in the next slide. This is the real deal. This is their references. This is Merapi Mountain, one of the most active volcanoes in the world now. When the sky is clear, it's actually visible even from the southern sea of Jogja. And if the clouds are now clear, and if I look right, you should be able to see it too. If you draw a straight line from Merapi Mountain to the southern sea via the Sultanate's Palace, you will see your line cross over Monjali. We can show them the weird speculations, Michelle. That's how it's located.
So the mountain
Anyway,
is
I'm on my way to Eddie Sunarso's place.
Yeah.
He was.
No, I was just gonna ask. The mountain is where the north is.
Yes.
And Monjali. Oh, it's right in front of the mountain. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And it's a serious straight line to the sea, even
And
if
the sea
means evicting stuff or whatever.
I mean, but the sea is
southern
on the
sea.
both sides. Oh, okay, I see. I was like, the sea is around the island.
Yes, the sea is on the both sides, but the sea on the north side is not Jogja by province.
I see. Got it.
That would be Central Java side of the sea. The sea that matters in like Javanese mythologies are the southern sea. Yeah, anyway, I'm on my way to Eddie Sunarso's place. He was the artist in charge for the dioramas. He passed in 2016. But before then, the place that we are heading to was also his studio. This monument museum thingy that we just saw was built in 84 to 85. If you're an artist, a curator, an art handler, or whatever labels in the field of exhibition making nowadays, imagine this. A major exhibition that is less than 10 minutes away from your studio. I bet you would have felt like there's nothing that you cannot make, right? you can't leave anything behind because it's just 10 minutes. It's like a cigarette away. And we are going to turn right, and then we're arriving.
Oh. You have a comment from YouTube, Grace.
Yes.
Someone said, you should ask Timble to drive you. I think it's like, okay.
Well, I had IG to drive me, but it's rain.
Mm.
We planned the raincoats and all that, but I was a bit scared that the rain got bigger.
Yeah.
Then it becomes impossible. So I took a car instead.
I mean, the test
Sorry,
run
it's
was
not
really
as
fun. That was so fun.
I forgot. Anyway, we could have been cut with anything, right? People can ask anything at any time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna switch off the
You're
video
gonna-
so
yes.
we get a better view when you enter the studio.
Yeah, the studio is really in the end of this alley. The studio is really exciting. Slowly, we are cleaning stuff and organizing stuff inside, so that anyone who anyone who comes can see it as like some sort of like a museum with archives, some sort. But it's basically the house where he used to live. Oh, makasih ya, Pak.
Oh, the sun is up.
So, you have to close the door and start with that guy over there. And see, this was the house that he used to live. And we are on the pathway towards that building there that you can see its top, which is where he stored his individual works as well as miniatures of monuments, replicas of reliefs that he had made. But the amazing experience of like walking in this path is to see the weird scales of figures of life. Oh, I left my umbrella.
Oh, in the car.
No, with IG, I guess.
Yeah.
See another different scale.
And these would have been miniatures of sculptures and monuments that he made for other cities.
These are models.
Huh.
Yes. The ones you see outside, they're not miniatures, they're the models. And when, of course, he has to be the biggest one, right? The first president needs to be the biggest figure in the space. I don't think that was intentional, but okay, we go in, and I sort of forgot my line. Where do I want to start? Oh, the places have always, like, all the weird scales you see. It sort of really, every time I come here, even now, I thought I wouldn't think of anything, but it still convinced me that the one disappearing point perspective sort of only allows you one side of the reality, like the wanted side, the claimed side. And I didn't get to introduce Edison also properly. This probably is the easiest way. Let's start from there. Can we see the slide, please, Michelle?
Yeah.
So Yeah, that's that guy. The aerospace monument. It was never officially officiated. It was never officially launched because it finished the year Sukarno, who commissioned it, died. So it finished in they finished installing it by 70s. And this one is the next slide. It's called the Welcome Monument. It was ordered in 61 and officiated in 62 for ASEAN Games. And again, in terms of scale, you see in this space, there's like that guy who's bigger and sort of welcomes you into the museum.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this guy who's tinier. And in the back, you can see the monument that is in the next slide. That one. That guy. Hello. I'm gonna try to go closer before I show you his face. That guy. The free liberation of West Papua, West Irian, as it was called back then. It was officiated 63, right after UN sort of gave back Irian to Indonesia. And surprisingly, it was ordered in 61. So I guess the president knew what he will get. This face is the face of all monuments.
Oh, so you mean all of the monuments
Yes.
he make are based on this face. So who is this face? Like men and women? Like I don't.
Men and women, yes.
Oh.
Men and women. The women, he just sort of womanized this character. This guy, who is actually him. It's him.
So
It's
he
him.
uses his own face for the female sculptures. Okay.
Yes. Because his argument was he learned from one of his teachers that one of the ways in order to be truly expressive is to be honest, and to be honest with your own expressions. So I think the way he learned it is to then use his own face in order to express sort of the nation building sentiments. This is a sculpture. Can we see the next one?
Yeah.
The next slide. Yes. That's his teacher, from King Carbide. That was a picture of them from 55. And this work was made in 58, like the moment he got back. It's always fascinating to see immediately what you learn, slightly before you had the time to chew it and it becomes other things.
How many years did he spend in Shantiniketan?
He spent 2 years. This used to be the working studio. Now I'm gonna go to the office. What you see outside are the sort of the models. With stones. There's a lady sort of peeking from there. This is his office. This used to be his office. And there are stuff right there because we are trying to sort of organize things slowly. And I wanted to show you, actually, first and foremost, is this book.
Art and Reality.
Okay. Yep. Oh, you can kill the slides. Thanks, Michelle. Yes. Yep. That's one book. And these are like archives of all the monuments that he did. But let's not go through all. Let's see one, which is the one we just went. This one. Can we see? No? Oh. Oh, it's taken out. This is what I wanted to show you here. Actually, just one image. Just this image. As you may have realized, the end of this thing, the end of this bamboo stick, is where I have been standing in order to show you the whole set of the dioramas. So no matter how collective the effort is in making it, of course you cannot imagine it being made alone. There's always like lots of people making it. It's even a class in the Jogja Art School that people have to take. So yeah. But through this, you also realize that so much work is done only to be seen by a single person.
From a single point of view.
Yes. I mean, if there's three of you, it will be a bit twisted from if you're a bit left or a bit right. So it's actually, whether it's life size or if it's like smaller scales like this, it's still made to be seen by one person. Yes, I'm good. Ask me anything. Or I can show you so many more things. Here.
No, this is great. I find it very strange. Oh, hi.
Hi. Can I also see you so it's not just me?
Yeah, I'm just switching between cameras. Yeah, this is it's so different from, what we just did a couple of days ago. Yeah. I just find the distortion of the sea paintings very, very strange. It almost feels like you were commenting on the skies, how it was a particular style. And then they were paying so much, the artisans or the artists were paying so much attention to sort of create that perspective. But in focusing so much of the perspective, they're like, actually, you know what, how truthful the painting that was being represented in the diorama is no longer important. We'll just like paint some whatever clouds on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was also thinking, when we were first starting to sort of prepare this journey, you were also saying that the dioramas eventually became references for films.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit about that? And then we'll wrap it up.
The thing is, at this point, I cannot prove it, the ones in films. There is another friend who's working on a short list from the film, of the propaganda film, the 3 hours propaganda film about the Communist Party. There's a friend who's doing a short list on that and sort of comparing it with the dioramas in Lubang Buaya Museum. But there is an interesting case to point, which is one of the 7 generals that was killed in 65. And there's a diorama on his killing in the Lubang Buaya Museum. The government decided to make his own house as a museum. And in the process of making his own house as a museum, the government took out all his personal belongings. And the children were protesting because where would they store all this stuff if not in a museum? And the argument of like taking all the things out is to make it look like the diorama. So that's the point of reference.
I see.
Instead of the actual house, I'm like, oh, interesting. We should check everything out.
Yeah. And then I think, just to bring back some of the concepts that really, I'm just getting questions from people who are texting me. Who is the added figure in the diorama? That's number one. And then there's another sort of concept that we were discussing was that, we're basically looking at stagings or paintings of people looking at paintings. And yeah, just, maybe you can tell us again, who was the figure who was added to the painting? And then we can talk a little more about people looking at paintings of
It's Suharto. It's the second president.
I see. Yeah, I guess the people looking at paintings of people looking at painting has been something that I think a lot about, because, this is also something that is done by Ming painters a lot as a way of expressing their self-knowledge, or, I am a person who is learned and therefore I know how to look at paintings, and I won't be actually executing a painting because I'm of a certain class. And so I'm just wondering, why would people be sort of doing that in the dioramas? What were the paintings doing in the dioramas, you think?
I think when we talk about the first president, it's impossible to sort of separate him with art because he is an avid collector. So that's and the myth, or not myth, the story about the Fatmawati painting that he takes everywhere he goes is something that a lot of people would know. So, and that's there's a whole archive of meetings that happened in that space, and it shows you the paintings. That nowadays, I think quite a lot you can find online, these photographs of that particular meeting room. That's not the official meeting room, actually. The official meeting room is the first space in which only two figures were in the diorama. There were no paintings in there. That's the official one. The second one is a rather intimate one where you do longer meetings, where you strategize. That's when you see all these paintings. I also question, why is the wave painting there? And it sort of give you an eerie feeling, right? It's above the president. You sort of can understand the first lady image there, next to him, always in frame with him. But the choice of someone else need to talk about that, who has been looking into the presidential collection. Also because there are lots of ocean, wave, sea kind of painting. Why that particular one? But in thinking of it in the diorama, I think there are other dioramas that also have paintings that are slightly incorrect. They are not completely incorrect, but they're slightly incorrect, which sort of makes me think that it's intentional and the mistake is intentional. That it is a way to send another message.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, I guess that leaves us there's a television behind you. Okay, this is a little too crazy. I think I need to stop.
Television. Oh yeah, true, an old one. Yeah.
Well, but
well, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, good luck cleaning all of this up in a good way. But I think what is really I think thank you so much for sharing that journey with us, and it's really exciting to know that there are many of you who are working, sort of trying to piece this sort of different visual puzzles together. And it's such an exciting sort of community to be part of, as a generation of people who think, oh, why not make our practice about remembering and trying to piece together what other people have been telling us, and question the truthfulness and the cracks of it. I think this is something that a lot of us have become interested in, and to move from one sphere. No
longer about truth, no.
That's true.
It's no longer about truth, no.
It's not. And I think this is also the entire sort of process of us deliberating for so long together. But I'm going to thank Grace here. Thank you so much for
Thanks,
bringing us
Michelle.
on the ride.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Lantian. Thanks, Kabelo.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mas Aji.
Okay. I'm going to move to introduce our next act, even though I can't really get over how distorted our vision can become, and how we do things intentionally or unintentionally such that our vision can become so skewed. But I'm gonna try to sort of settle and move us from one form of theater, the form of theater in diorama, to theater on Zoom. And where Amia Nakbal with Siv Grayson and Mamelo Maketa will bring us through a series of wormholes of infrastructure that somehow pieces through and weave together what we know as life through sticky starches, you know what I mean later, song playlists, bloody socks, and jazz.